Hey you, come, gather around the campfire, and welcome to the party. This is Party Chat, a JRPG podcast where we talk about everything that we love in the world of JRPGs and other Eastern titles. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Hawkins, and with me, as always, is my party partner, Kevin Kenson. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. You know, we're kind of in the eye of the storm right now. I got to do some things I can't talk about yet. And then we got other stuff coming up soon that, you know,
We
some
also
of it
can't talk about.
Yeah, some of it we'll be allowed to talk about right away, but we can't talk about
sure.
yet. Yeah, you know, what we're doing. Other than the fact that it is SGF week, there are presentations and demos and all kinds of stuff going on this week. So, you know, it's a busy time, but it's like a good, fun, busy time. I'm looking forward to seeing some folks that I usually only catch, you know, once or twice a year for this exact, you know, situation. And yeah, you know, just play some games.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm really excited to check out all these games and see you, of course, and all that good stuff. It'll be a really fun weekend. I'm heading out Thursday night, and you know you're there. So, but I won't see you till Saturday, right? Because you're not doing anything on Friday.
I'm debating that right now.
Okay.
Because I don't remember saying I wanted to go to the show, and then a ticket showed up in my email anyway. So I was like, I mean, I have the option now, I guess.
You know, just to kind of gather or lay out expectations on what we're doing with SGF coverage. Obviously, there are going to be certain things that we see that are going to have their own specific embargoes, and those will, even if they come out like or they're set for like the same time, they're going to be like dedicated videos for like each game, or if there's like multiple games from the same company, like we'll compilate that into a single episode. But yeah, so when it comes to embargoed stuff, that's kind of how that's going to go down. And on Monday, like afternoon, basically, we're planning on recording like everything that we played that we can talk about that night, and then hopefully get that up for y'all as soon as possible. And then everything in regards to what was announced at the show, like what was announced at SGF or what was announced at Xbox or a hypothetical Nintendo Direct, that stuff will be like what we talk about for the like next week's episode, topic of the show, that type of stuff. So yeah, just wanted to kind of lay that out just so you listeners know what to expect from us when it comes to coverage and just content. And yeah, super excited to do that for y'all. Hope y'all are excited. I know that we are. And there's going to be some really cool announcements this week. At least we're assuming.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential. I mean, I just put up a video the other day, like going over all the kind of just a short version of the presentations, kind of like what we did on the podcast last week, where it's like, look, here's just some quick rapid fire thoughts of what we might see at each one. I wasn't too bad on State of Play. I kind of hedged my bets a little bit on whether or not we were going to get a big reveal, which we ended up getting. But everything else I said ended up being pretty on point. So yeah, very excited to see what we get at the next couple presentations. Did you see that rumor for direct timing?
No.
I think this is a Jeff Grubb thing. Either Tuesday or Wednesday next week.
Well, I mean, we might have to sort out our scheduling depending on when that ends up being. But so maybe expect the episode to drop like publicly across the board for our patrons and YouTube membership people.
We'll see.
But yeah, cool. Alrighty. Well, we're going to get into some housekeeping. It'll be a pretty short show compared to normal. But we do have the State of Play to talk about. There was a lot there, and looking forward to that. If you've been enjoying the show, please go to your podcast service of choice. Give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. You can also go to youtube.com/@partychatjrpgpod. Hit the subscribe button over there. We love that as well. Uh, the IndieQuest showcase happened over the past week, where there was a bunch of new indie JRPG announcements that happened. We're not covering that during the show this week because we would be here forever. And also we just want y'all to like go to Taylor's channel and actually watch it and support that, because then it'll just give him the ability for next year to be even better. So you can go to youtube.com/@thegaming-shelf and it should be over there. But really great showcase. So congrats to Taylor, and thanks again to Taylor for letting us be a small part of that. Lastly, go to youtube.com/Kevin Kenson. Hit the subscribe button over there. I know that he really appreciates that. Now we're going to get into the news for this week. Very short news week outside of the state of play, but we have a couple of things to talk about. Crimson Desert has detailed their summer content roadmap. Basically, in short, they're doing some updates on combat. They're reworking some things with the re-blockade in the game to make that feel a little bit more natural. They're also going to be implementing some story improvements based off player feedback, as well as some general gameplay experience for Damien and Unka. I don't know who that is. I don't know who those are, but some updates there. And then they're also going to implement cross save eventually, as well as just some general quality of life improvements. We were talking about this before the show, where I was like asking Kevin, I was like, Kevin, like, how much of this game have you played, if any, since launch? And he's just like, not much, and it doesn't really matter because that's a completely different game now.
It sure is, and that's honestly part of why is that like I did dig some of the stuff that Crimson Desert was doing, but also I'm not the type of person that's excited by like, oh, we're going to be constantly updating and changing this. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna wait till we're done then. Like, it's different when it's an advertised early access, you know, like Hades, for instance. I was all in on joining early there and you know, watching that play out. But for this, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm gonna wait till you guys actually feel done, and then this is the same thing I did with FF15. The moment FF15 started getting more and more patches, and then we got to eventually to Royal, I was like, all right, I'm just waiting till Royal. Like that's the move here.
That's fair. I liked the game a lot where it was like, you know, when it first released, despite its issues, but like I actually want to go back and like play the Royal Edition. I actually never bought a physical of it when it was available, and now it's like actually kind of expensive, and that kind of bums me out a bit. But do you think this is going to be similar to like a Cyberpunk 2077 situation? Like, obviously it's not as drastic, of course,
yeah,
but in the sense of like, hey, we're going to do like these major reworks, and then we're going to, you know, maybe do like one big like expansion update where there's going to be even more significant changes, and then it'll feel like a completely different game, or like the game that was like meant to be when it initially launched.
I don't think they're going to go the route that I think there's going to be continued incremental upgrades, and I think there is going to be eventually sort of like a night and day, like, oh yeah, if you played this game at launch and then you came back 2 years later, different game, right? Like, I think that experience is going to be there. I don't necessarily see them doing the Cyberpunk thing where there was a very intentional, like, hey, this is the 2.0 leap. Like, we are now drastically overhauling multiple things simultaneously, and it really is a different game, one patch apart. I get the feeling Crimson Desert is going to be a more incremental type deal. I'm very curious how exactly they're going to handle the story updates and what kind of pacing that's going to have, because that's almost a weird thing too, right? Where if you're like in the middle of the game and they start patching that, and you're like, oh, like I'm already past the part that this story beat happened, but then there's this other story beat they might change later. Like, how does that interact timing wise? And, you know, that just, I'm very curious about that kind of implementation rollout and what that experience is like if you're actively playing in the midst of this happening.
Yes, I'm very curious if we'll, like, you know, maybe 10 years time from now, we get a YouTuber who basically drops like a, hey, here's the entire timeline of Crimson Desert, where like they explain every update and like what specifically changed in each update. I think that would be fascinating. I think it's like, you know, one of those rare games where it's like, yeah, I want to know. I would love to see someone put in the work to see what that looks like. Obviously, like you would have had to start from the beginning, right? Like that opportunity, that window was like at the launch of the game, basically.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know if we'll ever really see something like that because you can't predict the future and be like, oh, we're going to just be rolling out updates almost daily, like in the first like few weeks, right?
Yeah. No, it was once a week you got like, and like significant updates, like not just like, you know, little tweaks. Like it wasn't just, you know, fixing bugs and making sure crashes were less often. It was like, hey, we're overhauling like how fast travel works right now, or we're changing how storage works. And it's like, okay, cool. Like these are very central things. And that was the crazy thing about the review period for that game, right? Is that no reviewer reviewed the game that people are playing today. Even on launch day. I feel like there was a launch day patch that like made some pretty significant changes, some of which would absolutely impact your play experience. Like I do remember the one big one was, I think it was like a couple days after launch, they added a fast travel point to like the home base. And it's like, that's a pretty significant time saving like thing right there. Cool. Yeah, but I think the game's neat. Obviously, there's been a lot of great reaction to it. Much better as time has gone by because of all the updates and fixes and such. You know, I don't always think every game needs like a postmortem or like an updated review, but I would be very curious to see like a few people who reviewed the launch version if they want to go back, you know, 6 months or a year later and be like, here's how I feel about this version of the game now, because it's just going to be so different.
Yeah, kind of similar to you. I'm in the same boat where I'm like, man, like I want to play Crimson Desert. I don't know when that's going to be because of all of these updates, and I really want them to be in a place where they feel like really good about the game before properly trying to jump in, because it is a big undertaking as well. It also puts into perspective the Witcher 3 situation, right? Like we didn't cover on the pod because it's a Western RPG, but that's getting a brand new expansion like later this year or sometime next year, and we thought that game was done. And like in the grand scheme of things, when they announced The Witcher 4, I had a sneaking suspicion that they were going to announce a new expansion for 3 to get people excited for 4 and get people back kind of in that mindset. And seeing if like that may serve as kind of like a prologue or like a setup to The Witcher 4. And I have the Witcher 3 like complete edition, and now there's new expansion coming out, and I'm like, oh man, like, are you guys going to do another re-release with all the content on physically available? Because I very much would like to have all of that together. So like, because there was a point where I started The Witcher 3 and I felt so out of place. I was like, I don't know anything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I just kind of rolled with it. And then I stopped for really no particular reason. I have my opinions about the game so far, of course, but like no particular reason of stopping. And now I'm like, well, I'm going to wait for this expansion to come out, and then I'll go back to The Witcher 3. So, but yeah, we'll see what's up with Crimson Desert probably in the next like three or 4 months and see what that looks like.
Yeah. I will say on the Witcher thing real quick, I do hope that if they do any kind of re-release, it's that we get a Switch 2 native version. Because the Switch version, in all honesty,
definitely going to happen.
The Switch version's great for being on the Switch. Like, they really did a great job making that game runnable and like in a playable state. But 100%, that was a challenge. And knowing how they got Cyberpunk to be on the Switch 2, it's like, Witcher 3 is a significantly older game, not quite as demanding. It's still huge because of the size of the world, and that impacts the install size. And so I would be more skeptical about getting that complete on cart, with all expansions especially. But I think, especially for me, if I wanted to do like another proper run at that full game, a good handheld experience would go a long way.
Yeah, I still want my first time to be on a more powerful console, but if they were to port it and it was, physical on Switch 2, I would absolutely buy it. Absolutely. I still need to buy Cyberpunk. That's definitely on the list. So, Dragon Quest Monsters: The Withered World has been rated by the ESRB. This is interesting because normally when we see this type of thing, this game would release like within the next
2 months or whatever.
Yeah, like 6 months on the far end, right? And they made the game it sound like the game was still like pretty far out, but still like gonna come out before Dragon Quest 12. So the fact that it just got rated is kind of a bit of a head scratcher where it's like, is this coming out this year? Square does like to release games in that like November, December range. So they released the last Dragon Quest Monsters in December, and I'm pretty sure they released Dragon Quest Treasures in December as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is coming out in December based off of this information.
Yeah, and that absolutely is the kind of thing that could be announced at, like, I don't know, maybe an unannounced summer Nintendo Direct. Not saying that for sure is happening, but like if that game actually is something they're trying to get out before year's end and they were just kind of playing coy with the timeline, that is the place to announce it, right? Like, it just makes sense. That would also line up timing-wise with, that rating happening. So we'll find out, if we do get a Direct in the next week or two. But that would be the place to do it, right? Like, I think traditionally, like a mainline Dragon Quest could maybe show up somewhere else. But I think for something like Dragon Quest Monsters, that's a Nintendo thing. Like, 100%. That's at a Nintendo showcase.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense because we didn't see any like gameplay or anything like that. So it would make sense that at the Direct is when they actually show off the gameplay a bit. Did they show gameplay actually? I don't think they did.
No, not for Monsters.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll see on that. Got just a couple of quickies here. Artist Impact, which released back in August of last year, is getting a Switch version. This is a like indie turn-based RPG that I've heard very good things about. So that's launching on Switch on September 17th. And then lastly, Scarlet Nexus has officially shipped 2 million copies.
We do have one other piece of news. Frickin' Tekken 8 lost a director again.
Right.
Like, it's like barely been a year since when did Harada leave? I probably should have double checked that.
Like 3 weeks ago? Oh, no, Harada leave.
Yeah, when did Harada leave?
Yeah, he left like
about a year ago, right?
At the turn, I think it was at the turn of the year.
Yeah. And so the current director, or at least as of a week ago, current director, Kohei Ikeda, announced that he was leaving Bandai Namco as well. Which I think when I sent you the article, you were like, I wonder if he's joining Harada. Like, if that's just the timing. Entirely possible, right? Like, that is a thing that happens in the industry. Like, someone you worked with before gets a new job somewhere else, and you're like, hey, what's up with over there? Are they cool over there?
Yeah.
But that is, it's weird too, because I feel like Tekken 8 was getting a real big kind of momentum shift this last season, because I know there were a lot of people unhappy with some of the choices at launch and then the first couple of seasons. And this latest season has been like, I've seen tons of praise for the character lineup for DLC. I think there's been a lot of core mechanical changes that have been received pretty well. And so it almost feels like a shame where it's like, oh, this guy takes over. And some of this stuff probably predated him coming in, right? Some of these were plans that were already probably in somewhat motion. But it's like, cool, like there's kind of some steam getting back here, and then we're changing directors again, like less than a year between.
Was Harada like the director of the game, or did he more serve as like an executive producer oversight on Tekken 8?
Yeah, no, he's listed as director. So
okay,
yeah, at least what I'm seeing right now in this quick search. The thing is, they do list multiple directors, and so it's possible that maybe he did have like a slightly more hands-off relation. But I believe like the tone of it, at least early on, is that like he was pretty hands-on with it. So yeah, but interesting changes for that game, and I guess we'll see Yeah, this is one of those things too where you never see the immediate fallout of that kind of change, right? We're going to see where this game's at is in a year, and kind of see how that direction shifts as a result.
Yep. Now we're getting into what we've been playing. I have been playing a bit of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the Switch 2. Thank you to Square Enix for giving me a code to check it out. And man, it's one of those things like, how is this game on the Switch 2? It really is one. Like when it came to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm like, oh yeah, that, like, I can see that. That's very possible. Like, and even then, that was in a better condition than I expected it to be. And then we get to Rebirth, which, is a current gen only title, and the Switch 2 is not a current gen from a spec perspective entirely.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? Because I think the thing a lot of people underestimate on the Switch 2 is that there's a lot of upscaling tech that the Xbox and PlayStation don't take advantage of that the Switch does. Mm-hmm. And so it's yes, raw performance wise, you're going to get a better internal resolution performance out of a Series X or a PS5 Pro. But with the right balance of AI upscaling, a Switch 2 could make a game look phenomenal. And not nearly the same performance draw. Because that was even my reaction to... I played Pragmata on Switch 2, and it looked great. It looks better on a PS5 Pro, but the gap is not what you would think if you're just looking at the straight up, it's this processor and this, et cetera, et cetera. And I haven't played it on Switch 2, but I've also heard the same thing for Resident Evil Requiem. That apparently looks and runs wonderfully.
Yeah. And so I only played the first 2 chapters. I just wanted to get a sense, because I didn't play the demo when it was announced. And actually later I learned, which makes sense, that the final release is actually updated from what the demo is. So there were certain issues in the demo that aren't an issue in the final version, or the release version, which is really cool. It runs at a pretty steady 30 frames per second, very little dips there. So if you're worried about frame rate, unless you're oh, I only want to play in 60 FPS, not going to be an issue here. And visually, again, similarly to what you're saying, it's going to look better on a PS5 or PS5 Pro or what have you, but it still looks really good on the Switch 2. And I think this is the game that, because I didn't play Pragmata on Switch 2, I didn't play Cyberpunk on Switch 2 yet. I think this was the first game where I was just oh, I see the potential in a real way now on what the Switch 2 is capable of as a handheld console like that. And so I mean, again, it's not one of those things. It's one of those things where I'm not trying, when Part 3 comes out, which will probably be a Switch 2 launch, at launch, I'm not going to be playing the Switch 2 version at launch, but I want to play it on PS5 because that's just what I've committed to. It's only it was exclusive that entire time. But if I do a rerun through the trilogy at some point, it's probably going to be on Switch 2 because it's just it's good enough. It does the thing, and I enjoy it, and it's portable, which is really dope. It's also on Xbox, to be clear. You can buy it on Xbox Series consoles as well. But yeah, it's really great. It comes out on June 3rd, so it'll be out when this podcast is public. It is a game key card for physical, so we do not support that over here. If you want to get it, we say get it digitally. That being said, I will be going to a card market website to buy that Zack Fair promo for my Zack Fair Commander deck.
I was gonna drop that that option. That's gonna be a part of it too. So yeah, I'm curious what it's gonna go for, what they're gonna rate it at. But we'll see.
I really hope it's if it's more than That's the tough thing, right? Because like I'm looking.
What's your breaking point on that? Because this is a card you already have like a regular version of, and the regular one doesn't go for much money.
It's like 50
right?
cents. It's not. It's not a card meant for like.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a commander. It's not meant to really be in most decks. It
has very specific uses.
It's a very tasteful card, and it's like what it does. But I liked the ability. I'm like, this is really cool. I want to see if I can make a commander deck out of this, and I did. It's not great. It's not super powerful because it's not,
Yeah,
but
whatever. It's a low bracket option.
I enjoy it. It's fun, and So if I look at the Cloud Midgar Mercenary promo,
the one that came with.
That'll put things into perspective because
I think that one goes for like 35.
Yeah, so that is that came in a $100 pre-con. No, I don't think it was $100 initially.
I think it's like 70 MSRP, but a lot of places sold it for 100. Yeah,
it was 70 or 80, and it's currently selling market price for 35. So I'm probably expecting this one to be around 30. Probably.
That's a little spicy.
It is a little spicy, but I would rather do that than,
buy
the game key card. So it kind of is what it is.
Is it only for Switch Physical?
It is only for Switch Physical, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and right now, I'm looking at a lot of the card market stuff, and they don't even have listings for it yet.
Sure.
Well, because for some instances they have pre-order prices. You know what I mean?
Someone knows they're going to have the stock, and then they'll list it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, meanwhile, for what I've been playing, I did dive into the newer Elliot demo that dropped last week.
Ooh,
just because I was curious, what may have changed, and I also wanted to know how far this one goes relative to the closed door demo I did. It's interesting doing the beginning of this because it is very different from that demo that dropped last year. Because the demo that dropped last year really wasn't the start of the game. It was really more of just a little slice to play it and see what it's like.
Okay.
So you go to a different dungeon, the fairy's not with you right away. The demo actually ends with the fairy being introduced. So you have a whole fairly lengthy introduction without the fairy powers at all. But it does cover a pretty wide variety of things. I was surprised how much actually happens in the demo. There's enough side quests for you to do that are going to give you more weapons to use. So you start off with the sword, but you can buy a boomerang pretty early on, and there's side quests to get the spear and the bombs and the there was one other weapon. What was it? Oh, the bow.
Right.
And a couple optional areas you'd be able to visit too. Not too many because they definitely want those to be more gated by having fairy abilities and doing more of the kind of open roam stuff. There's a little bit of linearity going on because they kind of want you to get the opening beats of the story. On that note, story was one of the main things I was definitely a little worried about coming from my closed door demo because I just didn't have much story to work with on that. And the demo from last year was a very bare bones kind of basic. Hey, we're just kind of giving you the pitch, and I will say I feel better having played this newer demo. I like some of the plot beats that are going on here. I mean, it certainly is some very tried and true tropes. It's not they're not going to be winning any major innovation awards, at least for the opening bits I'm seeing here. But I think they are being handled fairly well, and it's at least keeping me a little more engaged. And I'm having that thought of okay, I do kind of want to see what's going on next or what this guy's going to do and that kind of thing. I don't want to go too in depth on it because I'd rather people check out the demo for themselves and kind of see the story for themselves firsthand. But I will say overall, solid demo. I think it took me maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was a pretty meaty amount of time. And this is the kind of one where you will be able to transfer that save data over to full release. So if you plan on picking up the game, I know some people don't like doing that. They want to just wait till the game's fully released. They don't like the idea of playing for a bit and then having to wait. But if you don't mind that, might as well check it out right now, get that opening bit going, and then continue on when the game drops on the 18th.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have that as my playing game where, you know, I don't have a super long flight to LA, but I think I'm gonna. How long was the demo? Would you say like a couple of hours, hour and a half?
Yeah, I was like about 2-ish hours, I think.
Okay.
I might be over. Like I wasn't really paying close attention, to be honest, but it feels like it was about that much time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and play that during the plane, just so that, you know, if we are fortunate enough to get codes later, like you know, I've already done that part of the game. And if not, just like when the game comes out, I'm gonna buy it digitally on Switch 2 for my place to play it. So I'll just do it that way. As you know, so either way, it's something I want to do. Now we're going to get into the topic of the show, and that topic is today's state of play. Kevin, you always got the coverage on everything that gets announced because you do it for your YouTube channel.
Yep, I got my list open already of everything in order. Let's break the order a little bit. I want to do this a little bit in the order that I did my video in, because I think there's a couple things worth highlighting. Okay. And first off, first party presence. Because this is the big thing that I think has been kind of the headache for state of plays the last few years. Because I think there have been some state of plays that, in terms of the raw content alone, enjoyable show. But you also take a step back and you're like, oh, like everything they showed here is coming to everything. And I'm not necessarily like a console wars guy. I'm not going to be like, oh, like, you know, we need to have all the coolest exclusives just for PlayStation. But it is a 100% understandable thing that if like that's the system you invested in, you want a little something, right? Like a little something that's like for you who've, you know, thrown your money into it, especially with how expensive these systems are getting these days. So we had 5 like PlayStation Studios games show up, 3 of which, you know, one of them's already out, which is Marathon, and they just did a trailer showing off the new the 2.0 content. Yeah, new season, showing off the PvE a little more. That's being added to that. I don't know a ton about Marathon, not my cup of tea, but I know some sickos that love it, and I know there's a light hope among some people that the PvE might help like give a little booster to the player counts.
Yeah.
The 2 big updates at the start of the show, though, were for you know, games we already knew about but we're waiting on. The big one, of course, being Wolverine, which, damn, this game is bloody. They already like made that obvious with the first trailer, you know, last year, but or was that the start of this year? I already lose track. But
it was earlier this year where they showed that first trailer.
Yeah, time is flying. But yeah, seeing more of it in action and also seeing like actual gameplay, right? You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to see like a very bloody like action cutscene. Seeing actual like in moment gameplay of how you just cut into people and the things you're doing in combat, it gets brutal. I think one of my favorite things I noticed during the little demonstration is that, you know, to play with the fact that it's Wolverine, of course you have regenerating health. The regenerating health factor is a very like core part of who he is as a character. And so one of the things they definitely made sure to show was like intentionally getting hit a few times by enemy attacks. And there's a whole like 15-second moment in this trailer where Wolverine's just missing a chunk out of his back. Like it's just like there's just a clean, I don't know how that wound happened, but you just have a clean hole where it's like, oh, that's like your spine in there. Yeah. And, you know, after fighting for a little while, you see it, you know, it's not like a super subtle thing consistently, but it eventually does heal up as your health gets back up to full. And that's just like a nice, like, cool, like that. I feel like that's an important part of like the character fantasy, like being able to see that kind of stuff in action. It's very funny seeing the transition between cutscenes where like suddenly his suit is also repaired, whatever. Yeah, the combat looks good. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm visually very satisfied. I'm very curious how it actually feels to play, because I think that's something very true of like Spider-Man, right? Like I think Spider-Man makes for some extremely cinematic looking fights, but also once you kind of get the rhythm down, it's like, yep, this is what I'm doing for the next 30 hours. And so, you know, I want to know what it's like actually in the hand, but it looks real nice. It looks real nice.
Yeah, so I do want to correct myself. The first time after the initial announcement back in 2021 for Marvel's Wolverine was the September 2025 state of play.
Okay, so that was late last year.
That was last year. But Yeah, this game looks dope. I think here's what I'll say is that I think that Insomnia kind of has a little bit too much of a magnetic direction to enemies that I think that the Arkham games do a bit better. I've always felt that I remember when Spider-Man 2018 came out and people said oh, this is better than the Arkham games. I was like, you're out of your mind. But I think that those are some things that I think are a bit more obvious in this demo because it's so much faster, especially when it starts getting more active. I do wish that they committed to the blood in the sense of the blood doesn't fade over time. Because I did notice that. I was like, oh no, I want that blood. I want that blood consistently on.
Yeah, that could be a performance thing where it's just sort of look, we can't be having this much blood actively rendered in real time, at every moment. Fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or maybe
or it could just be a thing where it's or maybe they had that originally not doing that, and then it just got kind of silly looking how much blood is accrued over time. You're just dripping in it.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand it happening slower over time, fading away, but I just think it's just oh no, dog, y'all let that go away too quickly.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this more once we get to the end of the first party stuff. But one of the things was cool was the team up stuff with Jean Grey.
Yep.
And seeing how she can set up kills for you was just really, really cool. Really enjoyed that. I do think Insomniac does a really great job at having these showcases show off basically a full mission and what that experience is like. That being said, they also normally have a trend of showing off the coolest mission in the game.
Sure.
And so it's just I hope there are cooler missions than this, because it was cool to watch, but it wasn't anything special.
Sure.
So I'm very curious about that. But in general, I think it looks good. I think it looks fun. Did anything particularly blow me away? No, but I think that it is exactly what I expected it to be, in both good and bad ways.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I honestly, the thing that I kind of walked away the most on was that no collector's edition. They're skipping out on this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who were disappointed in that. I joked about this on the Discord, and I think there actually might be something slightly to this. Recession indicators, man, I don't know. I wonder if they looked at the markup of okay, if we wanted to commission this being made and we put this in it and we have to have them shipped and distributed, and they would come out to how much would we need to sell these for? I don't know. I wonder if that played a role in it a little bit. Because, it is surprising, right? We've gotten collector's editions for the other ones, and if there is any time that it makes a lot of sense to do it, it's when you have an already popular IP. Because it's you're going to have people who maybe don't even care about games that much that are oh, I fucking love Wolverine. I want to get that.
And another thing that's kind of worth mentioning is that we still don't know much about the game, and it comes out in 3 months. And even with, I looked back on it because I have a list of all the state of plays in front of me. There was not a Spider-Man 2 dedicated state of play.
No.
And I think that Wolverine may be one of those games that needs something like that, because we still don't really know what the structure of the game is. Hey, is this a level by level just?
I believe they have implied that. I think so there's been statement that
there's no break room type deal, or
I don't know that for sure. I just think they did clarify at one point that this is a linear mission experience, and it's not going to be like Spider-Man where there's a hub world you're running around and doing stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to. I do not never expected that would be the case.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm more saying that, like, is there kind of like Pragmata, right? Like, is there like a space in between missions where you're able to like do upgrades or do this and that to prepare for the next mission, or is it just like, nope, you're just going mission to mission to mission, and this is going to be like a tight, and I still think it is going to be a notably shorter game than Spider-Man 2, but like this is going to be a tight 10 to 13 hour experience. Honestly, like kind of reminds me a bit more of Rift Apart, in the sense of like, yeah, there are like a little bit of exploration in Rift Apart, but like it's a much smaller experience than like a Spider-Man or a Spider-Man 2. I think it'll be longer than like Miles Morales, but like I don't think it's going to be, I think, you know, if this game is more than 15 hours, I would kind of be surprised by that.
Yeah, I actually think my biggest question for it in that regard is how they're going to handle optional or side content, in the sense of, I think one of the really big things they did well in Spider-Man is indulging unlockables and having like, hey, here's all these costumes that are inspired by so many different pieces of media that have existed in the history of this character. And we already see that they're doing that a little bit with Wolverine, because they revealed the digital deluxe edition stuff where it's like 5 different Wolverine costumes, which, by the way, have a separate 5 different claw cosmetics.
Yes.
That is a separate choice, apparently.
Clawsthetics, if you will.
Yeah, I think I saw Mitch on Blue Sky say Clawsmetics, and I was like, God damn it.
Yep.
That's smart.
Nope, that was from Mitch. I stole that from Mitch.
But that makes me wonder then, like, so, because in Spider-Man it makes sense, because it's like, oh, you know, you have that kind of semi-open world area, there's challenges, there's things you do, and that's how you unlock all those costumes. What does that look like in Wolverine, right? Is it specific challenges within levels? Is there optional side content? Is there some kind of repeatable challenge element? That's one of my questions, because I feel like that's going to end up being a thing. I just think it's such an easy way to give extra playtime and, like, again, kind of indulge the fans a little bit of like, oh, don't you want like this outfit color? Don't you want the orange suit? You know, it's like, how are you going to incorporate that? And yeah, and I will say, you know, Spider-Man 2 never got a dedicated state of play, but it did get a very extended gameplay. What was it, like a 20-minute gameplay thing we saw one time, similar to what they did with another game we're going to talk about for today's state of play. But yeah, I agree. Like, as much as we've now seen of the game, there's still a lot of questions of like what the actual overall structure of this thing is. And I feel like we're going to get that clarity before release. I don't know in what form, if that's a dedicated presentation or another state of play or whatever. They drop a gameplay overview trailer, you know, a month out. But yeah, I agree. I feel like there's still a little more they're going to want to talk about this game before release.
Yeah, something, and we'll get to it later. Something tells me that we're not going to get another state of play until after Wolverine is out. And I'll explain why later.
Sure.
But and one thing that you kind of helped kind of put into perspective for me with how Marvel's or Insomniac's been handling these Marvel games is that they're different experiences. Like, you know, Spider-Man's open world, Logan's a lot more linear, and you know, this supposed X-Men game they're working on is going to be more of a multiplayer experience. So it seems like that, like with each IP that they're utilizing, they're also changing up the genre. And so it does make a lot more sense and puts more things into perspective when thinking about it that way.
Yeah, I think the kind of guiding star, right, is like, ultimately, if we're making a game that is about this superhero, what is the fantasy of that superhero, right? Like, swinging through New York is such a core aspect of Spider-Man. It has to be a at least semi-open game that allows you to do that, right? Wolverine, the fantasy is you fuck shit up and are very hard to kill, right? Like, that's a Wolverine is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And maybe we get a little bit of weird, tragic, will they, won't they romance with a supporting character by the name of Jean Grey, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Yep. More Marvel. We got 2 Marvel games back to back to talk about. Tokon Fighting Souls, we got another new trailer. The big thing they've been doing with this one is that, you know, all the latest trailers have basically just been roster reveals, and they've been breaking it up into the like in-game implied canon parties, right? It's like, oh, these are like officially a group of characters. You're free to make whatever team you want, but this is kind of how they're, you know, in story depicted. And today's reveal was the Knights of Doom. It's a bunch of villain characters. Dr. Doom, we already knew about. He's the leader of the team. And then they also revealed Magneto. Absolute classic pick for a tag team Marvel game. It's just like, you can't make a tag team Marvel without him and Storm. I just feel like that's like, there are certain rules you don't break, and that's one of them. Green Goblin, fun choice. He hasn't really been in a lot of content like this, and I think that's like a really fun choice. And then one that's kind of surprising, not because of who the character is, but kind of who it implies we're not going to use. Carnage, which probably means no Venom. Venom is such a very popular character to use in a lot of stuff. We got him in, the recent Cosmic Invasion. He was another mainstay in like the Marvel crossover fighters. And we're doing Carnage instead, which I'm down. Dude's crazy. But that was a bit of a surprise.
I still think we'll get Venom eventually. But yeah, I do think Carnage was an interesting choice for at launch. I could have definitely saw Carnage being a character, like a DLC character, later on. But yeah, it's cool. I would love to see like Dr. Octopus at some point. That's just because of my Spider-Man 2 heart there. I love him in that movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like that trailer just made me wish I was good at fighting games, dude. Like the game just has such a great presentation, such a good vibe, and it's just like, when I was with Street Fighter 6, where I was like, this is the game I'm gonna get into. And then I'm like, I'm just lying to myself. I'm gaslighting myself.
Well, this is one of those ones where I feel like the way they design it, the floor is low enough that like I think there will be room for like a casual scene in it. But if you want to be serious, there's going to be it's going to take some work. It's going to take some work. I also just want to say I appreciate the double dipping we're getting here with Steve Bloom, because he's voicing Wolverine and Green Goblin, and he's a perfect fit for both. Like I always love me some Steve Bloom. He's one of the kind of around voice actors. He's like a
top 10 voice actor for sure.
Oh, I mean, especially that list of credits. I mean, the man was Spike Spiegel. Like,
I was actually thinking about that, and like maybe we'll do it as a bonus episode. But like, it's so hard to like whittle down like a Mount Rushmore of voice actors. It's so hard. And yeah, but Steve Bloom is one of the greatest of all time for sure. Undeniable.
Absolutely. One other thing I do want to point out, they highlighted in this trailer too at the very last second, is that we only have one team left. And we know one character for it because he hasn't been in any other teams yet, which is Ghost Rider. So that implies that this team is maybe going to...
Midnight Suns?
Midnight Suns, or at least like that kind of general, like, the more supernatural, lightly horror vibe type characters, right? What's her name? Bloodstone. Yeah, Elsa Bloodstone.
Okay.
Yeah, like it makes me wonder about characters like Elsa Bloodstone, or like, exactly, like Midnight Suns characters. We get more into that kind of like supernatural horror vibe.
Nico would be so cool. So cool. Blade.
I think that's the implication, right? Because like it makes sense that, we already knew Doom, and the last team we got revealed was Doom's team. And so it's like, okay, like the only character that isn't in a team yet is Ghost Rider, so it's probably Ghost Rider's team, and what does that make up? And look, obviously this game's going to get DLC for years. We're going to see this roster expand, but it's going to be very interesting to see what that actual full lineup looks like.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they've gone as far to the point where I'm just like, oh, that's a super inspired choice. But all of the picks have been cool, for sure. Yeah.
No, I think, there's absolutely the safe ones. I think there's a couple where it's like, oh, cool, you chose to go that direction, right? Like, I think not a lot of people expected to do, like, Shuri for Black Panther. But then it's also like, we're going to have Hulk. It's just that you can't. Yeah. That's not going to not happen. I think overall, like, it's been a solid... I think it's a good balance of, like, we have the stuff you expect, and then here's ones you don't know as much. I will say the only one, and maybe this is me showing my ass a little bit of like just not being into like Marvel the same way as some other folks are. The only character where I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit is Danger. I just don't... I'm like, we got 20 slots and we're going with the Danger Room turned into a character. Okay.
Oh yeah, I
Cool.
forgot about Danger. No, Danger is a cool choice, but like it's one of those things. Like I get what you're saying in the sense of, oh, like come on, but also like that's cool. That's like something that I wouldn't expect, and I kind of appreciate that more than like having a character that's more well known. The only character that that's missing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that I really want to be in the game is Daredevil.
Yeah. It really, like, street level heroes in general, there's not as many. Like, we're definitely going a little higher power. I mean, outside of obviously Captain America, because it's Captain America. Spider-Man has, crazier powers, even if he tends to have more street level stories. But yeah, like the kind of more like in the streets vigilante type dudes, not as much of that going on so
if
far.
One of the teams was the Defenders, that would make so much sense, right? Like, it's like, all right, let's get Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I don't know if they would do Jessica Jones. It would be cool if they did, but also like I don't I only really know her her on-screen presentation and background. So like, does she have other powers outside of just super strength?
Strong. Yeah, but I mean, like, what does Captain America have other than shield? You know what I mean? Like, you can do super strength and give it a moveset.
That is fair. That is fair.
Yeah. And that actually is an interesting thought you bring up, though. I do wonder, like, again, we're going to get DLC. It's inevitable. But is it going to be like a character by character basis, or are they going to theme them in teams as well, right? Like, is season 1 a set of 4 characters and they actually have a thematic like vibe to them?
I see that likely. Also, one character that I would also really like to see in the game is Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi would be cool.
Yeah.
Also, Wonder Man would be cool. After watching Wonder Man, I'd be like, put Wonder Man in there, man.
Put that guy in there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, what do we have next?
All right, so we're gonna skip the rest of the presentation. We'll get back to that later, but let's keep talking first party Sony for a bit. We got 2 new reveals.
Yes.
One of them I'm very mixed on. The first new reveal that I'm very mixed on is Until Dawn 2 from a different developer. The original Until Dawn was made by Supermassive Games, published by PlayStation. Supermassive went on to make their own games in the same style that they did that were, more multi-platform. They did the kind of shorter form Dark Pictures stuff. Most recently, they did Directive 8020. And now, today, we get the announcement that PlayStation is having Firesprite make Until Dawn 2, which Firesprite historically is a VR dev.
Yes.
This is something a little bit different for them. And I got to be honest, you can see it's a different dev in terms of the technology, I feel, going into it. Like not that Supermassive does like incredible mocap or faces, but I feel like it was better than what we saw in this, right? Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy.
Okay.
I do think that like Until Dawn 1, even the original like PS4 version like looked better than this. But I'm also just like, I don't know, because I started Until Dawn 1 for a bit, but I'm not a horror guy. And they started like throwing in like spiders here and there, and I was just like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah,
you got me.
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
I like the original Until Dawn, and I kept up with most of Supermassive's other stuff. I haven't checked out Directive yet, so I am behind on their newest one. And in all honesty, outside of the one I haven't played yet, Until Dawn is still their best game. Like they've gotten close with some of them, but like Until Dawn has been.
I think that is like
strongest.
widely agreed upon.
Yeah, and so it's a little tough with this, where it's like, I don't want to be immediately negative on like a different dev handling a direct sequel, because there have been cases in the past where like a different dev carries on an IP, and it's like, oh, like y'all brought your own perspective to this and made like a cool thing. Like this is like a great game. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. That's like one of the peak examples.
Yeah.
Even though the originals are still classics, there's also a very big time gap there.
That's fair.
But so similarly here, it's like there's that part of me that's like a little wary, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like I want to see the full thing, right? Like I do want to check it out and play it. But it is very interesting that this is the route they're going, because I even had that thought that, they hard opened the trailer with that it's Firesprite, and we start seeing the gameplay out, and I was like, this is like a Until Dawn style game. Like, are they going to have them make like a, and then there you go. It's just straight up called Until Dawn 2. They're not even trying to, change the name or give it a different property. Like, this is part of the franchise now as Sony sees it. Which I will say too, couple recognizable actors right off the bat. For me, I definitely saw Neil Newbon right away. Another Baldur's Gate connection right there. They brought back Peter Stormare, who was in the original Until Dawn. He was the therapist, analyst, whatever, the guy that you would see between chapters. He's just one of those character actors that, he does a very specific kind of stock weird guy and kills it every time. So, down to see him back in it. That was one of the things I actually missed in later Supermassive games. I was kind of always hoping they'd use him again. So that's cool. There's another guy, I don't recognize him, but I mean, I don't know his name, but I recognize him. I think you mentioned his name earlier when we were talking about
Montgomery.
Because he was in Stranger Things, right?
Billy in Stranger Things. He was the Red Power Ranger in the Power Rangers movie back.
Definitely didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And so he's honestly a really great actor. Actually, there's a movie, like an indie film that he was in with Geraldine Viswanathan, which was the reason why I went to see it, because I have a major crush on Geraldine Viswanathan. Called I think the Heartbreakers Hotel, or I forgot what it was called. It was a great movie, but he's like the love interest in that film. And he's a really good actor that just kind of after Stranger Things, he just stopped being in things as much, and I don't know if that was a personal choice or if he decided to take a break, but really great actor. And then one of the things that I actually need to go back, because I haven't had the time to go back and actually watch it again, there's a at the end of the trailer, there's this kind of, not silhouette, but you can barely see this guy's face, and I didn't even base it off of the voice, which is why I really need to go back and listen. But I think that was Gary Oldman.
I thought it was Peter Stormare at the end. Or are we talking about different guys, different parts
in
of the
the
scene?
In the dark,
where it's all red, red everywhere. Yeah, that was Peter Stormare. That was the returning guy from the first one.
I thought it was Gary Oldman. Because he's done video games before, so I was just So I was just oh, it's Gary Oldman. But okay, cool.
Yeah. So again, I think there's potential here. I mean, it's also a very specific kind of game that I think some people will immediately know if they're kind of down or not. I hope the best for them, and I hope it ends up being a really cool game. There's just that little part of me that's always just a little that's a little weird. But we'll see. It's I imagine if Bloodborne 2 got announced and it was we had these guys make it. It's that's okay, cool. I like the name. I don't. So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. And that one they didn't have a specific release date for it, but they did say it was going to be a 2027 release. So that is a next year game.
Cool. It's called The Broken Hearts Gallery. That was the name of the movie. Very good on Hulu. Y'all should watch it. Anyway, next game.
Yep. The final first party game and the big closer reveal where they this was both, I think, a neat idea, but they had to give warning. I've already talked to a few people who didn't catch the warning and were kind of what was with that? Where they were hey, we're showing one more game and it's just going to be 20 minutes of gameplay. We're out. The show's over. Outside of sit down and watch this for a while. And I talked to a few people who were yeah, this kind of just kept going on, didn't it? But the leaks were true. We have the reveal of a God of War spinoff starring Laufey. Kratos' wife from the Norse games, going on her own little adventure. I think what's really interesting, based on what we kind of heard from the leaks, as opposed to what we saw here, is that the leaks didn't really give full context of what her story was going to be, right? I think a lot of people thought it was maybe going to be some kind of prequel or, some kind of tie in that way. And the trailer hard opens with, we are burning her body, right? It's she's dead. We're already at that point of the timeline. It's the start of God of War 2018. And then, the ashes rise, we go up into space or whatever. And then she wakes up in this weird place. And and then they just dive right into like, this is a new game. Like we're just gonna see how this starts. And overall, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about it. I dug a lot of what we saw. I think they show some combat right away, which is this. It feels like they're trying to do a midpoint a little bit between the God of War styles, where it's definitely leaning more in the direction of the Norse games, but there's more air combos, there's more like kind of bigger hit count ups. It feels like they're trying to bring it a little closer to the character action of the older ones, which I appreciate. And I really dug the vibe of that. And then I think a really interesting choice narratively is that the setting for this one is they are basically referring to it as like the afterlife for gods in the God of War universe. And it's not any particular specific ones. It's just, this is where gods go when they die. Any major, big deity. And so instead of this one being like, we're still doing Norse, or we're re-exploring Greek, or we're leaning into a new culture, it's like, nah, man, it's just a mashup. There's going to be people from multiple different mythologies all thrown together in the pot for this. And I think for a side game, that's a really cool idea. Like, I think if like straight up, like, whatever, mainline Kratos starring God of War did that, it would feel a little weird, because I think there's a kind of a coolness factor of like, get to the next, like, what are we going to go through this time? But for a spinoff, I think it's a really fun idea.
Well, so here's the thing. I'll ask you this, like, do you really think that this is like being seen as a side game? Or just in the sense of like, you're not playing as Kratos?
I think in the sense of, I think it is a spin-off. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I view it. Yeah.
I'm not convinced yet on how I feel, if it is like a side game or if it is like something that should be considered a full game, because I think it's hold
on. It's still a full game. I'm not saying that it's like, oh, this isn't like a dismissive, this is going to be a shorter, smaller title or something. I think it's a full game in scope. Okay. But it is a spin-off title in the sense of like, we're branching off here. This isn't like episode 5 or 6 or whatever. Okay. Especially because it's happening, contemporarily with what's happening in God of War, right?
Yeah, parallel to it. So I think
I do have one complaint too, but I want to hear your thoughts too.
Oh, okay, interesting. So yeah, I mean, I think that this game is I'm super interested with this game. I didn't expect it to be like this. After like hearing the rumors, like, oh, there's going to be a game starring Faye, like I was like, what does that look like, right?
Yeah,
I didn't know it was going to be like, oh, you're basically doing God of War, but the combat is, she's faster, she's more agile, and like I think it's a fair observation to say that, oh, they're trying to meet in the middle between the Greek games and the Norse games. I just think that they're just trying to make her feel fundamentally different from Kratos.
Sure.
And I think that they do a really good job with that, because like she kind of has like magic in like her left hand, and then she has her sword in the right hand, which already got some theories about that. And I do like there's like just so much potential with this kind of idea, because like initially going back to when Ragnarok was on the horizon, right? After God of War 2018, I had this really great idea of like how the next game should start, or like the second game, whatever that ended up being, it should have ended with like Kratos dying, or Kratos Kratos is not available in some way. Yeah. And then the third game is Atreus, and Atreus has to go back to the Greek mythology, and he's basically walking the sins of his father. Where he is like learning the things that he actually did from the people,
people left with the fallout.
The people left with the fallout, right? And I thought that was such a missed opportunity, right? But now it can happen again. It can genuinely happen where you're in this place where like all of these gods that Kratos killed are hypothetically there. And
Ares is hanging out somewhere. Zeus is probably hanging out. Like,
yeah. So, like, at the very least, Ares, Athena, and Zeus, right? Like, those three have to be in this game. And I love the idea of Faye, like, learning from the source, like, their POV on everything. And, like, I'm not saying that they're going to make them sound justified. I think they're going to be like, oh, no, y'all were pieces of shit that should have died. Y'all did Kratos wrong. But that is not to say that Kratos is the perfect person. But, yeah, it's just like, there's so much potential with the setting that we're in about that stuff with Kratos. And it also is just like I think it's a really great bridge game to set up whatever the next God of War is going to be. Because, like, they did leave some stuff, planted some seeds at the end of Ragnarok, but nothing of real substance in a way where, like, Atreus is like, hey, we're talking spoilers now. Hey, I'm going to go off and do my own thing now. You know, I'm ready, that type of thing. And then Kratos sees, like, the whole, like, prophecy or whatever, where people are going to actually, like, worship him as a god, as a good god, that type of thing. And that was supposed to be like this kind of encapsulation moment for him. And it felt like closure in a way. But it was like, but this can't, like, there's got to be more, right? Like, this story is obviously going to continue in some way. How is it going to continue? Well,
sure.
The only way it's going to continue is Faye's going to come back, and something is going to happen because of the result of that. Sure. That is my current theory with the story. Now, that being said, because the two characters that she was based, you know, the antagonists that she was encountering in the gameplay is Sekhmet and Bejsi.
I'm honestly not sure the proper pronunciation of that one. I know Sekhmet. I don't know. The other one.
Yeah. So Sekhmet is the Egyptian goddess of war, and then Bejsi is the Tibetan god of war. And so that also brings the perspective of, like, hey, is it only the gods of war that are here? Or, because I do think at the end of this game, Faye is going to be considered a god of war.
Sure.
Right. I think that is definitely.
That's how it even, like, earns the title, because they're not going with a different title. It's God of War subtitle Laufey. So,
and I think that is, they're being literal with that. Yeah. Where, like, she will end up being the God of War of something.
It's Batman Rises all over again. It's Tim Drake. Anyway, or not Tim Drake. It was anyways.
Yeah. So there's just, like, some really, like, narrative interesting things. As someone who felt that Ragnarok was a bit of a fumble in a lot of ways, I think that this is like, okay, we're really doing something here that can be very, very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how that turns out. And I'll say a few more things, and then, you know, you can share how you feel about what I'm saying. Now, the sword. I'm thinking that's Excalibur, baby.
Maybe, but the design is it doesn't feel European to me. Which, I mean, whatever, they can do what they want, but
they can do what they want, yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like it's not. I don't think it is.
I'm just trying to think about, like, what other, like, swords of, like, mythology that are.
I'm just thinking about, because they try to lay thick the implications right away that there's, like, a danger to using the sword.
Yeah.
And I just have to imagine that, like, oh no, by picking this up, you're the Queen of England. Like, that's not not like a price, you know? And so I have to wonder if there's either a mythological weapon I'm just not thinking of right now, because I did not deep research, you know, ahead of this, or if perhaps it's an original idea where it's some kind of, like, I don't know, cursed god killer blade or something. You know what I mean? Like, is there, like, I feel like it's going to be a very central part of the narrative, because it feels like Faye being here is like, oh, you died, you ended up here, you want to get back home, cool. And then picking up the sword is the actual, like, oh, this is how we're going to get sidetracked now, where the actual plot of this game is, like, coming from. But yeah, because they really try to lay thick that, like, it's not a good idea to use this thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like, just look up the mythology behind the name Rue, and a lot of it is connecting to the Middle Ages and like English stuff. And so
maybe
maybe it is, maybe it's not. Now the other thing I want to mention is that like I think this game really put into perspective, even though I think it's a very inspired choice, I need PlayStation to stop having like these companion stop with the Last of Us blueprint. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of like, hey, here's the main character, and then here's the side character that you're traveling with. That's also important. Like,
sure.
I'm just tired of it. Like, it doesn't need to happen anymore. Like when it comes to these action adventure titles, like I understand, like, oh, you got Link and the fairy, like you got.
But how
Joel
else am I supposed to have
like,
witty banter every 3 seconds? I need the characters smart talking one another at any given moment. Otherwise, the silence will cause me to stop playing the game due to my crippling ADHD.
Yeah, and I may sound hypocritical with like Sora, Donald, and Goofy, but like it's clearly, you know, just hey, PlayStation being like, hey, do the Last of Us thing, and it's like, stop. Because it's also happening in Wolverine. Like, I'm not saying that every level it's going to be like, oh, Wolverine's teamed up with Jean Grey, but I would not be surprised if, like, pretty consistently, Wolverine's going to be teamed up with somebody, right? And it's just like, we don't need to do that. We can stop doing that. Like, I really hope that, like, outside of whatever the next God of War game is, where it's going to be Kratos and Atreus again, or Kratos and Faye again, like, I just want us to stop, please, because that's the thing that's like actually exciting about Intergalactic is like there's been like no tease whatsoever about there being like a random silly companion that travels with you, or like just any companion whatsoever. It's like, oh, this chick looks like a lone wolf doing really cool stuff with a sick like music blade. Cool, like, but I'm really, and I love Jack Quaid. I love that it's Jack Quaid.
Yeah.
After that, like let's just stop it.
So
let's just stop it.
Yeah. Okay. So I said I do have some complaints, and I got the one big one for me. I really don't give a shit about Frank the Cube.
Well, I mean, like,
no,
come on.
it's such a bizarre. It doesn't fit at all in my mind. And don't get me wrong. I love that it's Jack Quaid. I think them showing behind the scenes stuff where he's mocapping in a giant cube rig, hilarious, great. It feels so out of fucking left field. This is the kind of shit I would make a joke for in like a Friday night beer and pretzels D&D session. Not like, oh yes, all the gods in the afterlife are coming together and it's this big epic war and Frank the Cube, a gelatinous cube, is here as well for comedic relief hanging out. I'm like, guys, what are we doing here right now? What is this? When they have him tension break by sliding in from off screen to hit an enemy, I was like, this is like, it felt like parody. Like it felt like it was a joke about AAA games to me when I saw that shit playing. I'm the
opposite.
I don't like Frank the Cube
at the very least an inspired choice, and
I don't like him.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, I like him a lot. I already like him a lot more than Atreus, so
that's fair. But that's not hard to do.
So yeah, but
yeah.
Overall, I'm really excited for this game. Now, here's the thing that's interesting: no release date.
Yep.
It just says in development. And then if you watch the Meet the Cast video, it says coming soon.
Yeah.
And my theory is that, which I mentioned earlier, is that I don't think that we're going to get a release date until after Wolverine comes out, because I think that they want all of potential money to go to Wolverine without knowing when the next God of War is coming out.
Yeah.
And then once it comes out, they will have another state of play, and it'll come with a release date, and it's probably coming out in the first 3 months of next year.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I'm not as, I don't know about first 3 months, but I do agree. I think it's next year. I don't think this is
fiscal year ends.
Yeah, I don't think this is a we don't have a release date because this game is 4 or 5 years out. We saw basically the first 20 minutes, and that was like actual gameplay. Like that definitely was not like you can kind of tell with some trailers, right? Where it's like, oh, this is this is this looks like it's already very far along. And so I don't know if it's because they want to focus on Wolverine. I don't know if it's because, maybe there's enough wiggle room left in the schedule. They don't want to promise a specific window just yet. But yeah, I do think this is a 2027 game ultimately.
I see. I feel very strongly about it because they just raised a bunch of prices for the consoles. They're no longer releasing games on PC.
Games, they are just not the single player ones.
Well, not the single players. These games need to sell. These games need to sell so that they can sell consoles despite the incredibly high prices that they are now. And if I don't know if I'm someone that doesn't have the money and I can only choose between two games within that a hypothetical 6 months period, that's potential money that they'll lose out on if they were to do something like that. In that hypothetical, of course, it's a hypothetical, but just based off of the things that we know, I don't know. I think that I think that this is a very strategic, purposeful choice, and I think that game is pretty close to being done.
Yeah,
and it might be a situation where they may sit on it a little bit until it's the Wolverines come out.
Yeah, I will say too, I think I saw a comment from Jason Schreier after that was revealed where he was even kind of saying I see people being worried about the fact they didn't attach a timeline to that reveal and they think it's going to be further off. No, this is going to be a sooner than later. This is not a far out thing. Certainly not a 4 or 5 year wait. This is in the next year and a half at the latest.
Yeah, that being said, what's interesting about this is that, first off, this was a single cut 20 minutes of gameplay, right? There's no camera cuts, anything like that, which we know from 2018. They didn't do that in Ragnarok. And so it seems like Cory Barlog is a lot more attached to this project than than Ragnarok, of course, and he isn't the director of this game, but obviously his influence is there. Sure. And I think he's now the studio creative director there. Yes. I don't know if that means that he's the lead of the studio, but he's up there now. But for the longest time, the rumor was that he was working on a new sci-fi IP. But now that this has come out, it kind of begs the question, is that something that he's actually still working on, or did he stop and then he ended up making this instead?
Phase going to space. They're both the same game. And I think you can have influence and also a team that wants to maintain that inspiration. Not to say that he hasn't touched this at all, but I don't think seeing that influence there guarantees that he's actually more closely connected to this than we originally thought. Well, it's entirely possible. Certainly.
Yeah. My only reason I think that is because in this, I don't remember with Ragnarok him doing any sort of behind the scene interview stuff, things like that. He's doing that for this game.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm just okay, it seems like he's more involved this time around.
Yeah.
And again, that's just based off of what I've seen. But also on top of that, as far as I think it's known knowledge that they work on two different games at a time. Mm-hmm. And so it was God of War and then Ragnarok, and then it was supposed to be this sci-fi IP, but it's actually Laufey, and it's just okay, where are we at there? So it's just kind of something that has been moseying around in my mind, because I've seen a lot of people talk about Cory Barlog's back. I'm isn't he working on a sci-fi game? Or that's what the big rumor is. So just wanted to mention that.
We'll see. I do think, again, everything you're saying, absolutely possible. I do also think there is a logic, though, in even if he's not closely connected to this project. Look, let's not kid ourselves here. We are looking forward to this game, and I think we see the potential in it right away. but there is also 100% already awful discourse going on in regards to making a new God of War game with a different protagonist who is also a woman. And I think making sure having that clear connection of like, hey, here's the guy that made the last two, or at least, established God of War 2018. Like, here's him talking about this project, his involvement. Like, there definitely is a degree of like, we want to make sure people are on board with this different direction. Because some of those are absolutely just chuds, terrible people, whatever. But there are also people that are just like, oh, I don't know about doing a new game with a different pro tag. Like, that's not like God of War is Kratos to me. Like, what are we doing here? Because this is the first game we're doing with completely
where it's not Kratos.
Yeah, and that's that's five mainline games and how many spin-offs and other titles that have always been him every single time. And so I think there is a bit of that sell.
8 games.
So I think that could play a little bit of a part of it as well. I also, one final, and this is not nearly as much as my hatred for Frank the Cube. I don't love the name. I feel like there could have been a stronger, like, I get it. It's her name. It's her full proper name. But I don't know. I just feel like you could have done something different with that.
I agree. I'm not crazy about it either, but is what it is.
Minor complaint at the end of the day. It's marketing, whatever. As long as the game's good, that's all I care about. But just throwing that out there.
100%. Before we get into third-party stuff, I kind of want to just like give a little like precursor before we get into it.
Sure.
I don't know about you. Well, I do know to a certain extent about you because I watched your video, but almost, if not all, of the major third-party, like notable third-party things that we saw here that we already knew about, I expected all of those to be at the SGF showcase. And so, like, the idea that they were all here really changes, like, my thoughts and possibilities of what the SGF showcase could be. Because there are some things that we that are still, like, very likely, right? Like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, right? If he's ready to show something, OD, right? If Kojima's ready to show OD, like, that is going to be at a Jeff Keighley show. And then, like, Tides of Annihilation, like, seemingly is going to have something soon. That would be the place to do it. After that, what else is there? Like, that's outside of, like, a potential Kingdom Hearts 4, right?
Sure.
That's, like, the obvious, like, coin flip thing.
I think there's plenty that can happen, right? I mean, first off, let's not forget, it's a Jeff Keighley show. So we're going to have at least 40% time dedicated to Souls-likes and gacha games.
That's
happening.
That's just happening.
I'm saying this both jokingly and 100% seriously. And, you're right, a couple of those key announcements. I think there's other big key games they can talk about. There are some. Like, for instance, Onimusha for Capcom. That was the one thing from Capcom. It's the one game we already know about. And it was kind of the like, hey, we're dropping a demo today on PlayStation. That's how we're tying this in more. And this is not the last we're seeing Capcom this week, right? Like, we're getting either a Monster Hunter expansion or another Resident Evil remake or something. True. Like, Capcom's going to have something.
Capcom's going to have something for sure.
Like we said, Square Enix didn't show up at the PlayStation State of Play at all. We didn't get any really RPG presence at all at the State of Play, outside of, like, No Rest for the Wicked, which is, Western action RPG.
And it's a roguelike.
So, like, Square Enix is probably going to have something to say at SGF. Like we've already said, feel like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is just going to be a part of that. I know you're also hoping for Kingdom Hearts 4. And that still leaves a lot of other major companies. And like, the ones that we got here that could have been at SGF, a few of them make sense to me why they were here, right? Like Phantom Blade Zero, Japan or Sony has had that big focus of like trying to support Chinese developers, and I think having this studio show off further info about Phantom Blade Zero and setting up a future presentation absolutely tracks and makes sense. Silent Hill Townfall, I think, even though that is multiplat, there's been a little bit of favoritism for showing that franchise as part of Sony's brand, especially with like the history of like where that series started. I will say the one that did surprise me a little bit was Control Resonant. I thought that was going to be SGF.
Biggest one. I was like, what is this doing here?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be SGF. That was the one that did catch me off guard a little bit in that regard, because I would have expected that there. And maybe it will be, it wouldn't be the first time we've had a game double dip during a big week like this. I mean, even in the days of E3 where they were all in the same convention center, you would get a game show up at two different press conferences, so that's entirely possible. But yeah, the ones that did make an appearance here made sense to me for the most part, outside of Control.
Yeah, and see, like, there's certain ones that I just like. I get the line of logic. I just still didn't really expect it.
Sure.
Like, yes, like Silent Hill. Like, I get what you're saying with the lineage of it all and stuff like that. Still, just kind of expected that to be a SGF thing. Onimusha, like. Yeah, we knew that we were going to be like other Capcom things, so like it makes sense that would be the one that would be here out of everything else. What was the other one before Silent Hill that you talked about?
Phantom Blade Zero.
Phantom Blade Zero, yeah. See, that was I was like, that's 100. If you asked me, I would have bet money on it. I would have been like, oh, bet money that's at SGF. Not, so like seeing that there, I was like, what? That there was just like a kind of a montage of games where I'm like, what is this doing here? Like, I thought this was going to be at SGF. Yeah. And so, again, SGF is just like in a really interesting place where it could like potentially be a real banger with some really cool surprise announcements on top of the things that we already expect that will be really cool. And then, or it'll be like last year's showcase, which was just absolute dog water. Like, just not great.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like my general vibe with a lot of Jeff presentations is I'm gonna get some good highs, but not a whole lot else in between. I feel like the middling ones tend to not, and like, don't get me wrong, there's gonna be stuff for everyone. There's gonna be games where like they're gonna find their audience, but I feel oftentimes I walk away from, whether it's the reveals at the Game Awards or SGF or any other kind of major presentation that he's involved in organizing, I feel like I always walk away with like, oh, awesome opener, awesome closer, and there was a whole lot of other stuff in between, for better or worse. And we'll see how that goes for this year. Because, yeah, I mean, we've already talked about what we think some of the big name stuff is going to be that shows up. I think Final Fantasy is the biggest one where we're just like, it makes sense, let's see it. Here we go. And, at the end of the day, we're just speculating still. I think we have good logic and reasoning, but like none of it's for sure until that thing hits the stage. So it'll be interesting to see. So with that in mind, how you want to do this? You want us to kind of go through everything in order? Do you want to try and just do some highlights?
Yeah, well, no, we can go through everything in order. And
okay. Well, the first third-party game, Rayman Legends Retold. This was something that leaked, I want to say, a week ago. I feel like people were talking about it. And here it is, fully revealed. Do you have strong Rayman opinions, Cam? Where do you stand on this?
I think it's Rayman Origins, the one that was on the 360,
yes,
that I really liked. That was a really fun, especially like the music stages. Those were sick.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't have a real close history with Rayman in a real way. That's the series I would like to get into, but yeah, I don't have much ties to it.
Yeah. Well, I will say for myself, I don't have a ton of history with the older Rayman titles, and that is something that I've meant to like go back and explore at some point, because I have heard wonderful things about some of the original ones. That said, I absolutely love Origins and Legends. Like, I played both those games a lot. I also introduced Christine to them, and she ended up playing them a lot, and we were doing co-op and stuff in them too, and like we put a lot of time into those. And I have such mixed feelings about this reveal for so many reasons. First off, it's a little weird using the IP at this point when Ansel has left. This was one of his franchises, and so this is kind of like a thing where it's like, oh, like the lead guy that like helped create this franchise, he's not with the company anymore, and so instead of like making a new one, we're just going to rehash like the last one that came out, which feels a little weird. And a big thing for me on this one, if this was a totally new game, right? If they were like, hey, new Rayman game, here's what it looks like, I think it's a great looking game. I think visually, really cool use of 3D space, good character designs, great time. As a remake of Legends, I think it's a 100% downgrade visually. I think the UB art engine for the original title gave such a more unique, interesting art style that looked unlike many other games out there. I think the closest game in recent history that kind of scratches a similar itch is probably Super Mario Wonder, which is a different style, but it brings that kind of like artistic, almost kind of like water
like,
painted
I've never
layers
seen
to it.
Something like that before.
Yes,
deal.
exactly. And so taking that game and then making 3D 2D, I'm just like, way to just take the character out of this thing. Again, Legends is a great game. If they adapt all that main content, musical stages especially, it's gonna be a good time. Don't get me wrong. But just especially like, because that was one of the things that I think really made those two entries special, it hurts me a little bit to see that stripped away from it.
Yeah, I mean, like I've heard, because previews dropped right after the state of play, and a lot of people seem to be high on it, with like some misgivings on some creative choices.
Sure.
So I think like I do think that's kind of where you will ultimately land once you give it a shot.
Sure.
Again, I'm pretty indifferent to the series. Like, it's something that I definitely want to play. Is it something I'm going to prioritize? No, but like, it's definitely something I want to check out.
Yeah.
I don't really have much more to say on it outside of that.
No, for sure. And worth giving a little extra context, because we didn't fully dive into what exactly this is. And we don't even really have full context just yet outside of the trailer. This is a remake, but also, as the name kind of implies, they're also reimagining it slightly. Like, there were snippets of levels where it's like, I remember that exact moment and that exact level. Like, that is for sure the same thing. But there's also like kind of light 3D different perspective segments that look like entirely new stuff. So that's being added in. And it seems like they're completely overhauling the like surrounding storyline, because Legends was relatively light on storyline. Like, you kind of have a little bit of like setup and reason for why you're going through levels, but it's not really a focus. Whereas this seems like they're trying to really give it like, here is the specific epic plot that's happening, and this is why you're going to these regions in this order, and like stuff that's going on. Whereas the original Legends, I think, was like, we gotta go through levels to rescue the little round guys. Like, that was just really simple. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what the final product looks like. It's just one that does give me a little bit of like did this need to be remade this way kind of thing.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah. Next game is a prequel to what I don't know, because they say it's a prequel in the trailer.
Dave the Diver.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
Because I have not played. Okay. Bancho the Chef. Because I have not played Dave the Diver, but this looked kind of up my alley.
Yeah, so funny enough, I was planning on playing Dave the Diver when they did like they finally did the physical release, and then I just like kind of didn't have the time to do it. But now there's a Switch 2 version coming out with all of the DLC on cart. So it's like the complete edition. So, and like, I know that the dude is like the sushi chef at the restaurant. So he's like one of the key characters from Dave the Diver. And this is like a prequel as to like how he became the chef that he is.
Yeah, it's like an origin story.
Yeah, I'm curious as to like what that experience is going to be like from a gameplay standpoint, because it just visually it's very different, right? Like completely different art direction. It's not like the pixel art style like Dave the Diver is. So really don't know what that really looks like, but it's interesting, and it gives me even more reason to really try pick up Dave the Diver and try it out. I don't think the physical release is out yet, but that is definitely something I plan on picking up when I get the chance.
Cool. Next up, I think this was one of the more pleasant surprises for a couple different reasons. And we've also learned since that this next game is also a console exclusive for PlayStation. It's coming to PC as well, but it will not be coming to Switch or Xbox. And that is Kemuri, the debut title from Unseen, which is the studio that was founded by Ikumi Nakamura after she left Tango Gameworks. If that name doesn't immediately ring bells for you, she gained a pretty healthy level of immediate internet fame after revealing Ghostwire Tokyo for Tango Gameworks, left the studio before that game actually fully released, went on to found her own studio, and this is their debut title.
And she had a kid in the middle of that.
Also that, yes. That that interrupts some of the flow a little bit. Yeah, which it is interesting to know that, like, she was working on Ghostwire Tokyo before, and not that these are immediately similar games, but there absolutely are some, like, shared influences and inspirations here, because this is also doing, like, the kind of modern day, modern day Japan-inspired setting, but with yokai that you are hunting down that exist. There's definitely a degree of, like, style thrown over in terms of, like, character wardrobe and presentation. But whereas Ghostwire Tokyo was this, like, first-person view kind of shooter, exploration game, this is a much faster-paced title that is a up to 3-player cooperative action game. I'm very curious where this is going to land on that. Like, we've talked about this before when it comes to these kind of games. Like, is this a single-player game featuring co-op, or is this a co-op game that lets you play single-player, right? Like, what's the actual focus here? And I think it's a 3-player co-op game primarily. That's where I'm landing right now in my assumption, especially because not only did they talk about having that option, but the game includes, like, a class system, and there's 3 different classes. So it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense where I'm going to join up with friends and we're going to try and each pick a different class. Which those classes are, I forget the exact names she used, but it's basically, swordsman class uses melee weapons, archer class has a bow, and then the shaman, I remember they use that specific term, for, like, a more kind of magic focused character. And one of the interesting kind of beats with this game is that not only are you hunting down and fighting these yokai, but you also gain their abilities and can then use that against other yokai in the future. So it's kind of like you're building your power level, taking down weaker ones first to gain certain abilities. And that's going to be how you kind of power scale up more and more to then tackle bigger, stronger yokai.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like roguelike-ish, where, like, you get your upgrade, like, for when the ones you get, like, well, I guess it would be more like a co-op action game where you just get your upgrades from the enemies you defeat.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a little bit of, I was thinking kind of Monster Hunter a little bit, where it's like, hey, our goal is to go out and fight this thing, and by fighting this thing, we're going to get the stuff we need to get stronger, so we can then go fight stronger thing,
That's a fair
and not saying it's going to be
assessment.
that exact same flow. We don't really have a great idea of the pacing, but that is the kind of general idea I was getting from what they showed off.
Yeah. Like, honestly, regardless of what this game ends up being, I'm probably going to buy it because I just want to support her, right?
Sure.
She's, like, one of those, like, just people in the industry that is just so hard to dislike. I don't think anyone dislikes her except for, like, weird sexist people. And I just like, oh, she's finally back, because we knew that she was planning, like, establishing her own studio and things like that. And so like the fact that she's back and she's actually going to be able to release a game that she's directing and all of these things that we were, like, really looking forward to, like, almost 10 years ago, it's just like, yeah, I want to support this. I want to support the studio. So
no, and like, again, she definitely established a degree of, like, internet celebrityism, because I even, I was hanging out in a couple different Discords and just in social places as the presentation was going on, and there was definitely a lot of, like, oh, this game looks kind of neat, like, yeah, I could down with this, oh my god, it's Akumi, like like that's what's happening right now, that's who the studio is, oh, I'm so much more in now.
Yeah.
Yep. Next up, Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. You got any thoughts or feelings on this one?
I love the Crystal Dynamic Tomb Raider games.
Yeah, the trilogy.
This is a day one for me. This is absolutely a day one for me. Any new, like, Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider game, I'm in. Yeah.
I do want to mention that since the reveal, there was also the realization that the Steam page does have a generative AI disclosure. Yeah. Not to break your heart immediately. My favorite thing that I also want to bring up about this is, like, why do you need this for a remake? Like, this is using another game as a basis, so why was that even necessary?
Yeah, that sucks, dude, man.
Yeah, just, put that out there. I will also say I'm trying to remember how many like single player games has Amazon published, because this is like an Amazon Game Studios title, and I feel like most of their stuff has been like
that
MMOs
Amazon has
and
published.
Yeah.
0?
Yeah, so this is like a first, right? Because I know they've done like MMOs and like live service type stuff, but I can't think of any other like, here you go, start and finish single player game kind of thing. And that might just be my own lack of knowledge on there. I certainly could look it up right now. I'm not going to, because we're moving on. Annapurna, working with I believe it was called Great Ape Studio, revealing a game called The Lost Wild, which basically, as far as I can tell, the entire idea is like, hey, what if we just made a survival horror Jurassic Park game? And my answer to that question is yes. Give it to me now.
I love that for you. That game did not really speak to me.
Oh, man. I loved what I saw right away. And maybe that's part of like, whatever. I'm old enough to like have that childlike wonder of growing up with like the original Jurassic Park film and like having this like, because that's the thing, right? Like it feels like a concept that just should have been done by now. And like it hasn't really, or at least not well.
Dino Crisis is, or Dino Crisis is like over the top?
Dino Crisis is survival horror with dinosaurs, but it's definitely more like Resident Evil-ish. You've got guns, you've got like this definitely looks like you are a adolescent doing your best to survive in the situation. This is not a Rudy Tooty point and shooty game. This is a hide and seek game.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So there's that one. I also think it's no mistake that this game is called The Lost Wild, while Jurassic Park: The Lost World is a thing. That just feels like a very obvious.
That's wild, actually. That's funny.
No, 100. Like it feels like a very intentional. Like we can't. Why not? It's The Lost Wild. It's a totally different name.
I know, but it's just like imagining just like with that context, just like seeing the name, just like just leaning over. Can they do that?
Welcome to Cretaceous Park. Anyways, then this was a short trailer, and I feel like we've already seen parts of this trailer before. Phantom Blade Zero, which was really an announcement of an announcement type deal, because they were basically announcing, hey, there's going to be a more in-depth presentation later about this.
And did they delay the game after the showcase? Is that when they delayed the game?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so the game...
It must have been after.
Yeah, so the game got delayed to October 29th.
Oh, damn. Yeah, so I think that was after.
Because like we didn't say the specifics on the release dates yet. We'll share that after. But almost every game that was announced today had a September release date.
September and October are absolutely wrecked right now.
Yeah,
The main joke being everyone's assuming Grand Theft Auto 6 is in November, so it's like, well, we can't release that month. Yep, and so we're going to have like every game come out in September, October, and then November is going to be GTA 6 and nothing else. Yep. A handful of foolhardy indie games standing by their release dates, and I respect them. But yeah, Phantom Blade Zero, there we go. Dune Awakening coming to PS5. This is a port situation. Game's already been out, but it's getting a PlayStation 5 release. And as part of that, one new feature they are announcing is that it's getting a single-player focused mode. The game by default is meant to be an online multiplayer kind of faction type deal. And this is them being like, look, if you just want to play through the story elements and just, do your own thing without worrying about other players blowing your shit up, here you go. There's an option. Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered, we already knew about, but we saw a little bit more of that in action. I think the big reveal part of this is they're also adding the protagonist from Dynasty Warriors 0 as a playable character, so there's a little kind of fun tie-in with their newest game. I'm not sure if we had a release date for it before, but they did lock that in with this on October 21st. No Rest for the Wicked, newest game from the developers of Ori. That's been in early access for a minute on PC. Yes. And it was announced that the 1.0 release is happening October this year and will be coming to PlayStation as part of that.
Yeah, very happy to check that game out now. Because the Ori games are fantastic. Well, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is. Ori and the Blind Forest, your results may vary. But
it was a very good first game.
Yeah. I just think how do I explain it? The traversal was not great in that game, but they fixed it in Will of the Wisps.
No, Will of the Wisps is a significant improvement in just
phenomenal game.
Yeah. Onimusha, Way of the Sword, like we mentioned earlier, Capcom's one little quick appearance was showing off a little bit more of the game. And as part of that, they did also, two things. We got a release date, September 25th, and a demo came out today. I actually went ahead and did jump into this real quick. It's fairly short, about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your pacing. It is and is not the demo that you and I have played in the past.
Okay.
It's the same section, but clearly, like, this is like, oh no, this is how it's going to be in the final game. And there's more areas. Yeah. There's additional enemy types that we didn't encounter in the older versions. You can see where there's some kind of like optional side paths you can't do yet because you don't have certain abilities. So it's the same like general part of the game.
It's just expanded.
But it's expanded, yeah. So definitely worth checking out, I think. And seeing if this game is your vibe or not. Also, if you play the demo and finish it, you unlock a little bonus item for the full release. I think it's purely cosmetic. I don't know if there's any in-game bonuses for it, but it's like a little charm that you just get. So
yes,
that's neat.
I do remember seeing that.
Yes. Silent Hill Townfall also got a release date, September 24th. You're going to be hearing a lot of Septembers and 20s.
Same day as Control Resonant.
Yep, and a day before Onimusha. I sure love all of this.
One of those games is moving. And it's probably Silent Hill.
Maybe. I saw a couple people I know being like, Control, I'm begging you, please delay. Do not try to fight all these like guys at once. I love you, Remedy. Don't die.
Yeah, no. Remedy actually probably has the most at stake on this one. And so, but I also, I think that if more games move into like the middle of October, I don't think that'll be a problem because like the GTA rumored release date is like end of November, right? Something like that.
I think so. It's gonna be the funniest thing if it's like September 22nd.
That would be so fucking funny.
Oh my god.
It's not funny in the sense of like, these are people's lives, but it would be so fucking funny.
It's in a cosmic sense. And look, I know me, ultimately, I'm more excited for literally all these other games more so. But
I don't.
GTA is GTA, and that audience is going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Silent Hill Townfall?
Listen, I still want to play Silent Hill F. Like Silent Hill F, actually, like I liked the vibe of it. I want to play the Silent Hill 2 remake because that's the kind of horror that like I'm kind of chill with, like, you know, and you know, it's really cool that we got a black protagonist. Very, very cool. I definitely want to play it. But I've never played a Silent Hill game, so I just like, don't have any real expectations.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting too is that, like, you know, because of the current arc we're in for Konami, you know, it's not like we're getting a consistent team making any of these games, right? Like Silent Hill Remake 2 and Silent Hill F were both completely different developers. This is yet another completely different developer.
And it seems that this one's going to be a smaller experience than the past two.
Potentially. I think what's most interesting to note is that, you know, assuming this is a more full reveal style trailer, zero combat. So far, that's what I'm saying. Like we haven't seen a gun, we haven't seen a melee weapon. As far as we know, based on this trailer, this is a pure stealth focused, like don't get caught by the monsters kind of scenario.
Now, I have a question for you. As like, first off, but pre like Silent Hill F, how big of a Silent Hill fan were you?
Big.
Or are you? Huh?
Big.
Okay. How do you feel about the idea of like how I believe it was the writer of F, or maybe it was someone else, basically saying like Silent Hill is more of like a phenomenon than like a place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's been a long-standing thing, especially after kind of finishing up Silent Hill 3, because like The Room already is like no longer Silent Hill, and there are later games that kind of go back and forth between like, this isn't Silent Hill, or this is in some other town, but then somehow you end up in Silent Hill, or Silent Hill doesn't come up at all. It's kind of been a waving kind of thing. It's honestly one of those questions where it just kind of depends on how much of a purist you are for which games do you think count as the true Silent Hill experience. Sure. There's a lot of people who are, you know, champions of like only Team Silent games, only the first couple. And in that case, Silent Hill is a place, don't try to reinterpret it as anything else. Plenty of other people, though, would stand by the concept of like, yeah, it doesn't have to be that specific, I don't even remember what it's supposed to be right now. Pacific Northwest
there's fog,
or whatever.
it's Silent Hill.
Yeah, if it's fog and a small town vibe, because that's even the thing with F, right? Is that it's still trying to capture like, okay, you're in a somewhat smaller, more tight knit community. You're not like in a major city. You have that kind of foggy and more dim atmosphere. That's ultimately the stuff that matters, right? For setting the tone. I ultimately don't care that hard. Like, I feel like as long as what we get is good, I'm happy. Regardless of if it upholds the, whatever someone defines a proper Silent Hill game to be. But like that is certainly a debate that comes up within the fandom.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like I like the idea of it being more of a phenomenon, but I can also see like, when like the first two games, is it the first two games, the first three games, they're all in the same place. You kind of get
first three.
You get acclimated to that idea, right? So
yeah.
It
also like varies more because I think like even though Silent Hill 2 is in Silent Hill, 1 and 3 are much more directly about the town itself, and 2 is more like James happens to be in Silent Hill while losing his mind. It's kind of the vibe difference there.
Okay.
Yeah. Next up, Ace Combat 8.
Not my type of thing. Looks really good.
I know lots of people who are pure sickos for this game. I did try putting some time, and I think 4, because that was one that was talked up a lot. And like, I see it. It's also just not me.
Yep.
I'm going to give it, I want to try and give it another serious push at some point because I do like kind of want to know more. But yeah, this one's for the sickos that are into that franchise. I've seen plenty of people be very happy about this reveal. Interestingly, one of the pre-order bonuses for it, this is another pre-order bonus full ass game situation. They are giving a remaster of 0. So that's interesting.
I was actually going to ask if you knew about that. I was like, is this like a new game that they're just adding on top of it, or if it was the remake? I had no idea.
It's a remaster of one of the games that came out on the PS2. I don't know the full context for like how it ties into all the others, but yeah, that is a previous game that has come out, and they are remastering it and apparently just including it as a pre-order bonus. And I would hope make it available separately as well while they're at it. But
I assume so. That'd be wild if they didn't.
Yeah.
That's neat. Cool.
Yeah. Next up, a franchise that I have not thought about in a hot minute and never would have expected to see come back. Stuntman Hollywood.
Yeah.
Did you ever grow up with Stuntman? Did you ever put some time into that back in the day?
But I saw a lot of people that were like, this is incredible. I had no expectations on this.
Yeah, super weird reveal, because the way they even do it, right, is it's like we're just seeing all these different like iconic cars from movies back to back to back. And so, at first you're like, oh, is this like a Knight Rider game? Oh wait, no, now we're switching. Now it's this. What is
now
happening?
It's the DeLorean, yeah.
Yeah, the DeLorean's the closer. And with each car swap, I think there was a rising like recognition of folks of like, wait, Stuntman is a franchise. Like, I forgot about Stuntman, but Stuntman is a franchise. Are we bringing back Stuntman? And that's exactly what it is. This is one of those trailers. I think it's worth adding that caution of like 100% this was all like theatrical style buildup. We did not see a lick of gameplay. But conceptually, I'm very down. I think it's a very fun idea that this is straight up like, oh no, we're not just doing a Stuntman game. We are getting the license rights to like use all these iconic cars from cinema and television and like have those be the things you're driving. Great idea. Now we just got to see how it actually plays.
It's cool. Like, it's one of those things where it's not my type of game.
Sure.
But all it did was, like, when I saw people like freak out about it, I was like, this gives me hope that we can get a sequel to Split Second.
There's a genre of game I feel like I don't see enough of in the bigger AAA space. You see this in like indie games, but I think they also struggle there as well. We don't get enough of fuck around to get points games. You know what I mean? Like, did you ever play SSX and it wasn't about the racing?
Oh, yeah.
It was just about getting the trick scores up.
Yeah.
Like, Like, I want more of those again. And that's
Absolutely.
what Stuntman is, right? Like, Stuntman is not about, like, winning races. Stuntman is about just doing crazy shit in a car and, like, cool, you're having a fun time just doing dumb things in a car. Like,
did you ever play Split Second?
I did not play Split Second.
Do you know what Split Second is?
I know it's a car game, but I have not played it.
Oh my god, Kevin. Let me tell you about Split Second really quick. So Split Second is a racing game where each race is basically an episode of television. Where you race and like from drifting and like things like that, you gain like these bars, and then when you get to certain like objects, you'll press X or Y and that thing will like blow up. And so you're trying to like mess up the other drivers.
Right.
But if you fill, because there's 3 segments, if you fill it all the way to 3 and then you press Y, a huge like stunt happens and it fundamentally changes the map for the rest of the race.
Nice.
It is the best racing game ever made, and guess who developed the game?
I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try. Who is
Disney Interactive Studios.
Hell yeah.
It's a Disney game, guys. And it's so good. Like, I would like Split Second is like a top 20 game of all time for me. People and I think it's backwards compatible on Xbox. So if you have an Xbox, buy Split Second. It is amazing.
Moving on.
Yes.
Because if you didn't have enough horror games yet with Silent Hill, we got another one, and it's grosser with Ill. We got the reel for this. Not a ton of full context for the story, but this is definitely in that genre of like, just like, you know, survival horror, gross, nasty. I think the one thing that's been sticking with a lot of people is there was a part with little like mutant baby things, and you kick one across a room, and that stuck with people on the internet I've been seeing so far.
That game was initially announced at the SGF showcase last year, correct? I'm pretty sure it was.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, because I know it has like a Steam page, and I think it has been around for a little bit. I'm not sure if that got a previous reveal though.
Okay.
Look neat though. I mean, I like survival horror. It's a genre that I think can sometimes be hard to make waves in, because some of them do run into the problem of like, okay, but why is yours different? But I think this one, at least visually, even though it was a lot of tried and true type of approaches, I think it's already been sticking with people a little bit. Kicking a little zombie baby across a room just really, you know, even though it was not meant to be a comedic moment at all, has certainly had that impact on folks. And that is another one that just has a generic 2027 release date right now.
Cool.
Yep. Adding to the list of September 20th releases, 24th, we already brought this up earlier real quick, but Control Resonant got that release date locked in. The trailer we got this time was a little more story focused. Like, we still got some action bits, but whereas previous trailers were very like, here's the combat, here's how we're doing like kind of our take on the character action game. This one was more of like, okay, we're now actually trying to set the scene a little bit for, you know, especially if you know the plots of past Remedy titles, First Control and Alan Wake 2. Here's kind of the general concept of what's happening at the start of this game. And it still doesn't make complete sense, as I'm sure Remedy prefers it right now. Ominous is like half the damn point. But some really cool, stunning visual looking stuff. We've had this debate a little bit on this podcast. I'm a big fan of what Remedy's been doing. I love the First Control. I also love me a character action game. So there's a lot going on with this one where I'm just like, yes.
I like Remedy.
Yeah, I know you do.
Remedy.
I know you like. You just don't like them as much. You don't see the vision as much. I get it. It's fine.
I see the vision. I just have issues with the gameplay. That's all. Do I think, like, have they gotten better over time? Yes, absolutely.
Oh, well, yeah, that's absolutely true. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to defend the first Alan Wake. That is not an argument. I played the first
Alan Wake right before I played Alan Wake 2 because I never played it. And yeah, that was rough.
It's a rough experience.
Also, I'm a Quantum Break defender. I love that game. I love that game. And I wish it got more love. I wish that was the game that really put Remedy on the map over Control. I'm not saying that Control is like, I don't know. I still like Control. I just think it had its issues for me. But yeah, and like I'm excited for Control Resonant. Like that's a game I'm gonna play straight away. Like I finished Control. I still need to go back and finish Alan Wake 2. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very curious how that's gonna read with this one, because like, they are separate franchises, but also Remedy is being more and more into this idea of like, the Remedy verse.
It's a whole universe,
and it's like, okay, like, could you go into the like how much does Alan Wake 2 knowledge matter? I'm gonna guess that we're gonna get like nods, but ultimately only Control 1 really matters directly, because that was kind of how Alan Wake 2 was. Like, if you didn't play Control, you didn't really miss anything for Alan Wake 2, but there were things that were there to make you go like, if you knew your Control stuff. So that's most of it. We've already talked about. We touched on Marathon very briefly earlier. RuneScape Dragon Wilds is going to be a PlayStation Plus debut title. Awesome. And then PlayStation Classics, we got a couple announcements. Gitaru Man.
Man is... Dude, that was the best announcement to me until the God of War stuff happened.
Sure.
Like,
that was a big moment.
That was like... This is ironically the coolest announcement of the show.
Yeah. PsyOps, the Mind Geek Conspiracy, one that I have not played, but I do know also has its cult fan base, so like that's another cool one. And then I think the one that's kind of interesting to me in a slightly weird way is Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. For those that don't know, so this is technically Onimusha 4. It doesn't tie as immediately directly. Like 1 and 3 are very directly connected, and 2 can mostly kind of stand on its own, but it definitely like references the first game a little bit. And then Dawn of Dreams is kind of like, okay, like the plot of the original 3 ended. There's like a short time skip. Here's this new cast of characters. Cool. What's interesting about this happening is the fact that Onimusha 1 is playable on current systems via remaster. Onimusha 2 is playable via remaster. Onimusha 3 is not available in any form whatsoever right now.
I was going to ask you that, so I'm glad you touched upon it.
Yeah, I get my idea here, my vibe here, because they've been asked before, like Capcom has been asked, like, oh, like, are you going to remaster 3 because you just remastered 2? And the answer to that before was, well, at this point, we're all in on Way of the Sword. Like, we need to get that game out. That's the priority right now. But it does make me wonder if, like, as Way of the Sword development, kind of spins down, which it's got to be at this point, right? Like, we're getting to that release date. We have a release date now. It makes me wonder if maybe Onimusha 3 remaster is a thing that they do want to do. And that's how that game is going to be made available on current platforms. And then meanwhile, Dawn of Dreams, they were like, we're not going to remaster that. We can just put it on PlayStation Plus. Here you go.
But like, why would they do that before Onimusha 3 is the thing?
Maybe just because
why would yes, I was correct. Go ahead.
I if anything, I think, like I said, I think it's mostly just a matter of Onimusha 3 is something they're going to actually put resources into. And I'm not saying that putting a game on the Classics catalog is like an easy, no effort, just make it happen kind of deal, but it is certainly less investment than doing a brand new remaster. That's at least my based on nothing other than general series knowledge and just like vibes. What kind of makes logical sense to me. Yeah, that would be my assumption there. Because otherwise, it's very bizarre to just be like, yeah, we're just jumping right to 4 on the catalog. Nothing else. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's everything. We talked about it all.
That's everything. Okay. Wow. Again, overall, I think that was a really good state of play. Like, even, again, before the God of War, I was thinking this might be the best state of play like we've gotten. But I also think it's just because a lot of things that I expected to be at SGF was here. So
right.
And we knew like all of these things were going to show up, and the fact that they all showed up together, it's just like, okay, this was good. But again, it just kind of begs the question: what is Jeff gonna have outside of like the Sega stuff and Gears of War E-Day? What is Xbox gonna have outside of Fire Emblem and like Splatoon Raiders, like the first party lineup that we know of Nintendo? what is Nintendo going to have? There's a lot of still just open air ended questions. And so, like, you know, a lot's going to happen from the next time we record the weekly podcast. And I'm really excited to, like, get back here, you know. First off, you know, really cool, like, really excited to, like, do a pod in person again for the first time in a while. And then come back and just, like, talk about everything that was announced and just really, you know, chop it up for you guys on that, because obviously we're going to be talking about it to ourselves, like, in person, because we're going to be with each other, but, like, still going to be nice to talk about it up on the podcast. So
just, you know, as far as my summation on this goes, I agree. I think a really good state of play. I think the one earlier this year edges it out for me in terms of stuff I personally get excited for. Between stuff like, you know, we got that Castlevania game reveal. That was huge. Yeah, that was I think dope. Kenna looks great. You know, the Star Wars Galactic Racer, lots of updates and stuff we already knew, but we're still excited about, like Pragmata and 007. I think there was a lot at the last one, and I think some of the highs were not as high either. Like, I think, you know, even though
God of War, surprises, there were a lot of genuine surprises.
Yes, and a lot of variety too. Because I also think, you know, the big closer for that one last time was God of War Remake Trilogy, which is cool, but it's like we got a title card, and who knows when that's actually dropping, right? Yeah. And then we also got the 2D God of War game that everyone ended up hating. I haven't played it yet, but I did not hear great things.
Yeah, I've heard it's fine.
Yeah. Whereas this is much more like, okay, cool, we're getting the next God of War, and, like, we're seeing it really extended gameplay, and, like, that's a reveal, right?
Yeah, and you know, we did get a few surprises here, right? With Kamuri, of course, was a nice surprise, but, like, I think with a lot of the other stuff that we expected this week, we're also, like, at the point now where we're starting to get to the point where it's like, all right, release the game. We've seen enough. Release the game. Or you've shown this enough times where it's like,
with certain established companies, certainly, right? Like, we've made this joke of, like, you know, been loving everything they've been putting out, but Capcom, it's kind of like, I can see you at one less presentation. It's okay. You can take a break, guys. It's fine.
It was funny too, because I was in a friend's voice chat that, like, plays games, you know what I mean? And basically talking about, I basically said, like, what I just said, like, oh, I think this is probably the best state of play, even before the God of War reveal. Yeah. And he's just like, I just want on the record that Cameron is the one that spoiled shit. And I'm just like, this was highly rumored for quite a while. Like, I don't think this is really me spoiling anything. You know, and again, the whole group chat are people who play games to a more than a casual level.
Sure.
Right? So I just kind of expect that they know the things that I know at this point, and it's just like, oh well, I didn't know that. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's kind of like 50-50. Like, I'll take some responsibility, but also, like, you know, follow the news, man. But yeah, so again, we got a lot of stuff coming for y'all in the next week. So if you haven't subscribed or followed or given us a 5-star review, like, this is the time of the year to do it. This is the time of the year to do it, because this is where we're going to be dishing out the most content for y'all in a short amount of time. But regardless, you know, we haven't said in a while, we appreciate all of y'all, all the love and support, everyone who comes in and listens every week, whether and, like, for those that are listening to the first time, we appreciate you. Kevin, do you have anything else for the people before we dip out?
Not today.
All right. We'll see you soon, my friend. Everybody, you can follow me on socials at CamFinalMix, and you can follow Kevin on socials at Kevin Kenson. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
Later.